Hi, welcome to Old Guys Gentlemen Flex Fountain Pens. And I don't know what number it is, but it'll be in the title. What I'm reviewing today is Boston Safety Pen, produced by Noodlers Ink Company. Now, why am I wearing these gloves? Because this is the fourth time I've done this review, and with each review I get more and more stains in my fingers, and I'm playing around with this particular ink, which is an eye-popping blue ink, but it's permanent with a capital P, and I just ended up spending like 15 minutes scrubbing myself with ink zap and then taking a shower, and it's still not completely all out. So this will be shorter than the other ones. This is the Noodlers Boston Safety Pen with a Waterman 2 nib. It came with a nib, and it is a flex nib. It does flex. And I can't remember why I didn't like it, but I either had to put too much pressure on it to flex. I think that was it. And the tines are fairly sharp, so they kind of cut in the paper a little bit. I think I was having problems with ink flow on this. But I had read about somebody who had taken a Waterman 2 nib and put it in there, and it went in fairly easily. I think I couldn't use the feed from the Waterman pen that I borrowed the nib from, but using the feed that came with this, and this is all ebonite material, including the feed, I just sanded it a little bit with some really fine paper, and then was able to get it in there just fine. And I won't say a lot about the nib. The nib's a good nib, not this one, but the Waterman nib I put in here, it made really fine. And yeah, it does a fairly fine line up to fairly thick. It's pretty responsive. It's a good nib, and it writes well in here. And as I said before, this is a nice eye-popping blue ink. You can post this on here. I'll open this in a second. But you can post this on here, but it's really tight, so you only get part way down. And the length of it on its own, well, might as well take it apart. Yeah, you can see I've got ink on my fingers already. Somehow it comes off of this, gets in the cap, and when it's in the cap, it gets on the barrel section here. So maybe I did something wrong somewhere along the line and got some ink into this thing, and I need to clean it out at this point. But anyhow, getting back to this, it writes really well with the nib, with the Waterman nib. The length is just right for me. You can post it. You can't really stick it on there too much for fear of cracking this thing. And now you got a really long pen. But with that posted length, it's like 17.8 centimeters. Capped, it's 15.5 centimeters. Uncapped like this is 13.1, which is just nice. Because these tend to be just a little bit wet sometimes, I'll hold it right around here, and that's about 1 centimeter, and then it comes out to about 1.3 centimeter further out on the barrel. The stuff that I like about it is when it's closed, it is truly ink proof. I've shook this, had it in my pocket, ink won't come out, so that's great. The problem is a little bit of leak. This thing is designed to stay wet. There is a seal in here, so right now nothing's going to come out there. And when I pull it down, there is no seal on that, but there is when you close it up. If I were to pull this thing down and go like this, you get big blobs of ink coming out. So that's a good seal. The problem is somewhere along the line, if you're not careful, and maybe this is true with any pen, you get a little ink in here, you're always going to get ink out here. So maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh on this guy. And the other thing that's making it a little bit harsher is I love this ink. It truly is permanent. I tried some water experiments with it, and it's a hell of an ink. And the beauty about this pen is because it's all ebonite or gold, you're not going to have any sort of eroding problems or chemical reactions, at least none that I'm aware of. And so it makes a good pen for doing that. The nib stop stays wet, so there's not any, because what happens is when you put the cap back on, you bring this down. There's a little cutout here and a flat spot. Yeah, you can see it there. There's a pin in here. You can kind of see it in the center. And so you can use this to push down here and close it up. I think that's where you run into a problem, that if anything's a little bit wet here, it's going to get on the sides of this. When you close it, it's going to get on the side of this, and then it's going to get in your fingers. So I think the best way to close this is just do it on your own. And I'm twisting it. It's not, you don't need to twist it. You can just push it, but it seems to go a little bit easier if you twist it. You can handle all inks, all ebonite, and the number 2 nib fits. Stuff that's just kind of is this nib is okay. It does flex, but a Waterman nib is a lot better. The posting is a little bit tighter. You know, they had that nice design post there, but I think this is only really good for keeping track of your cap, because it's not going to really add. I don't think anybody really needs that much, and it's already pretty well balanced, so I think it's almost kind of silly to post it. The bad. It is tough to fill, I've found. The instructions say, or maybe it was a video. I saw a video and I thought it was put out by Noodler, but maybe not. But it says it fills anywhere between 1 and 1.6 milliliters. So I originally used something like this so I could figure out roughly 1.6 milliliters was. And you pull this thing down. So now it's not really sealed against anything theoretically. And you could put ink in here and it just fills in all the empty spaces. And they talk about, you know, tapping it like this. I did all that. And at 1.6 milliliters, I came up here like this. And somewhere in here, the ink looked like it was ready to flow over the side. So I had to take some out, try it again. And I think at 1 milliliter, it was still kind of wet up here. I think I might have been able to bring it up all the way, but there was like a pile of ink around here that I had to use some paper with to wick away. So I think the filling's around less than 1 milliliter, which I don't think is a lot, given that it seems like you have a lot to work with, but maybe the mechanism just takes up everything. I don't know. I was a little disappointed by that. And it tends to spill if you don't do everything right and keep your cap clean. So I think the main reason why I got this pen was to see if I liked safety pens, and then I might get a vintage safety pen. I think what I see here is if you want to have a real safe pen in your pocket, this is pretty good. I don't think you're going to get too much better than this. But when you go to write with it and you bring this in and out, and there's a chance that you can get a little wetness up here, and then you close it up and sometimes you get wetness in here. Invariably it's going to get here, and then it's going to get on your fingers, and this stuff does not come out easily. Now that's this stuff. Other inks would be a lot more forgiving. It'd be like any other pen where you get ink on your fingers. And I guess I'd have to say with a lot of pens, if I'm writing and filling ink, I get ink on my pens. But I'm not using a permanent ink generally. So this may be okay, but with a little ink on your fingers. It was never enough to fall down anywhere like on my clothes or anything. So, but I think it's just a little bit too scary for me. So I probably won't be using this anymore. I'll probably put this nib back on the pen it came from. So I hope you got some value out of that. Thank you.